All right, welcome back for this video for AP Environmental Science, Unit 1, Introduction to Ecosystems. In this video, we're going to be looking at the water cycle. Hopefully a huge review because you've probably learned about the water cycle before, but we will talk about the water cycle in specific. The water cycle has three major processes: evaporation, precipitation, and transpiration. The alteration of the hydrologic cycle by humans, obviously, of course, humans are affecting it. We're taking large amounts of fresh water at rates that are faster than nature can naturally replace it. We are clearing vegetation, and when we drain wetlands, we are increasing flooding. Now, this shouldn't be a huge, new information for you, but you probably learned the cycle where it was like a beautiful little circle, and it talked about evaporation, and then condensation into the clouds, and then it precipitates back into the land. Yeah, that's part of it, but it's not all of it. Now we'll look at just the human impacts first. So over pumping of aquifers. We're taking water out of groundwater in aquifers. We're over pumping. We're using more than can be naturally replaced. There's a huge amount of runoff on land that's covered with crops, buildings, and pavement. We'll talk about that when we talk about soils because that's a big part of it. Runoff that allows that water to go away, and it also usually causes erosion. There's usually when we clear cut a forest or fill in a wetland, you have an increased amount of runoff, which can obviously lead to water pollution. So those are the human impacts. Now, remember we talked about the aquatic biomes. We have the ocean and we have lakes and reservoirs, right? We have marine versus non-marine, standing water. Now, groundwater is typically not marine, so it's not salt water. This water can come in through infiltration and percolation, water basically infiltrating the soil and making its way down deep. One of the big ones that you might not remember or might just, this is one that I've found a lot of people have a little bit of a lack of understanding in, is transpiration. And just remember, transpiration is how plants actually release water into the atmosphere. And transpiration is a huge component in allowing water to be introduced back into the atmosphere. Ice and snow can be storage for water. Lakes and reservoirs are storage for water. Those are all the yellow ones. And the processes, you have evaporation and precipitation, runoff, evaporation of surface water, evaporation from ocean water, runoff. These are all the different types of methods that water can move through the hydrologic cycle. So that is the end of our 7th video. In the next video, we're going to be talking about primary productivity.